You feel right now the strange emptiness that has settled deep in your chest, as if the entire world has shifted on its axis, and suddenly everything that once made sense seems to dissolve into the mist of the unknown. It's not sadness, nor fatigue, nor that common loneliness of sleepless nights. It's an inexplicable void that arrives when everything external loses its color. Old desires fall silent, encounters feel distant, and nothing, absolutely nothing, seems to fit into the old skin of who you were. There is something different about your days. Time seems to fold around you, as if the hours stretch or shrink illogically, creating small cracks in perception between what was and what is about to happen. You realize you no longer belong to yesterday, but you don't yet fully recognize yourself in tomorrow either. And it is in this space of strangeness, between worlds, that consciousness begins to expand, slowly, densely, but irremediably irreversible. The past no longer calls you, and the new has not yet named you. You are suspended, as if you were just a breath hovering over the abyss of possibilities. Nothing around you explains what pulses within you. Others remain immersed in their routines, but something separates you, like a glass wall. You feel a silent, almost imperceptible presence, as if an invisible hand is about to cross the veil of your reality, rearranging everything from within, preparing the ground for a new cycle of existence. This void is not absence, it is an announcement. It is not an end, it is a passage. You feel, even without words, the call of the quantum vacuum, a deep, silent, and dense space where old paradigms crumble without a sound, and the soul begins, finally, to hear the whisper of the field. It is the place where old dreams are buried, and the promise of the new pulses, timidly but alive. The strangeness turns into a portal. You feel your consciousness expanding, feeling unknown emotions, foreseeing invisible movements, as if time itself is being reshaped by a force beyond common understanding. Everything seems still, but, at the same time, everything is about to be born. The quantum vacuum is this cosmic womb, the space between the death of what you thought you were and the birth of what you are destined to become. Here, the laws of matter give way to the subtleties of the spirit. Nothing is visible, but the potential of everything vibrates in silence. Old pillars crumble, memories dissolve, and a new presence, still formless, begins to inhabit your being. It is not an escape, it is not madness. It is the activation of the most subtle field of existence. It is the invitation of the quantum vacuum, whispering that you have been chosen to cross this threshold. You feel the strangeness and discomfort, but you sense that, behind this emptiness, there is a call to something infinitely greater. The void is not a punishment, it is an invitation for you to become a participant in creation, a conscious co-creator in the field where everything is possible, as long as you have the courage to let the old die so that the new can emerge. Now nothing will ever be the same again. You have been called, and this is just the beginning. You begin to realize that something inside you has changed frequency. The hours of the day no longer obey the external clock. There are mornings that stretch infinitely, afternoons that evaporate in an instant, and nights where time seems to swirl in silent spirals. It's as if the old laws no longer govern your existence. Small-time distortions manifest. You forget where you left your keys, feel you've seen someone before you even meet them, notice unusual repetitions of numbers, phrases, or events. Synchronicities cross your path, like invisible arrows, confirming that nothing is by chance. You notice that old interests, passions, and urgencies are losing their power. What once occupied your mind with such fervor, disputes, recognition, anxieties, vanishes like fog in the sun. There is a strange, almost uncomfortable detachment from what was once essential to your sense of identity. The pleasure that came from old conversations, familiar environments, or long-desired goals no longer nourishes you as it once did. At the same time, a silent, almost timid intuition begins to grow. You feel presences, foresee answers, notice signs before the rational mind can comprehend them. The old instinct takes on the contours of a deeper wisdom, as if the quantum field is whispering clues about the next step. More than ever, you are surprised to find yourself watching your own life, as if you were a spectator of a movie whose protagonist no longer fits perfectly in their skin. There is a gentle but continuous detachment between what you feel, think, and do. Emotions arrive and depart like waves, no longer dragging you into the same abysses. Fear, desire, doubt, they all appear, but you observe them from a new place, as if the screen of your being has gained more subtle layers. And this place is the quantum vacuum, not empty of life, but of conditioning. You feel, even without being able to name it, that you are being attuned to something greater. These symptoms are not defects, nor adaptation failures. They are fine-tuning adjustments between your personal field and the greater quantum field. What seems like a mismatch is, in fact, preparation. What seems like a loss is an adjustment. Your frequency is being recalibrated so that you become compatible with a reality that has not yet been fully revealed. The external world remains seemingly static, repeating scenarios, demands, and expectations. But inside, the mutation is profound, and few people notice this contrast. Many live and die without ever noticing the subtle disturbances that announce the awakening. But you feel, perceive, recognize. There is a call to a greater mission, a silent summons that only those with the courage to cross the vacuum respond to. The field does not awaken everyone, but it chooses those whose symptoms reveal readiness. And if you are here, feeling each of these mutations, it is because you have been called to cross the line. The signs never lie, and even without understanding everything, you can no longer ignore them. The awakening has begun. You begin to notice the slow crumbling of what you call the I, the identity built over the years, sustained by social roles, by repeated stories, by inherited beliefs and accepted limits. All of this, little by little, loses the power to define who you are. The old self, programmed to fit into others' expectations and prefabricated narrative, seems unable to resist the silent force that is born in the center of the quantum vacuum. What was once solid now appears to be just a facade, a shadow of a much deeper essence. Initially, this dissolution is frightening. The ego fears its own disappearance, resists, invents dramas, struggles to maintain control. Fears, doubts, and even anger arise at the loss of old certainty. You ask yourself if you are running away from the world or going crazy. But in reality, it is not an escape. It is liberation. What dies is not your essence, but the shell that imprisoned your consciousness in small repetitions, in circuits of pain, guilt, anxiety, and the incessant search for acceptance. You begin to distinguish, with increasing clarity, between what is a projection of the past and what is pure perception of the now. It is at this point in the process that the observer awakens. No longer a prisoner of your own thoughts, you begin to watch them from a distance, as if they were clouds crossing a clear sky. Emotions arise, but you welcome them, without identifying with, without being dragged into old abysses. The old patterns, the automatic judgment, the voices of fear, everything can be observed, but it no longer defines the direction of your journey. The observer is that part of you that inhabits the vacuum, attentive, silent, present, in no hurry to define itself, without the anxiety of being recognized. The fundamental difference now reveals itself. Those who run from the world seek refuge in forgetfulness. Those who free themselves from it find presence in silence. You realize that you are no longer at the mercy of your own conditionings. There is, in the vacuum, a consciousness that does not let itself be carried away by the chaotic flow of emotions and thoughts. You observe without judging. You feel without getting lost. You allow everything to exist without the urgency to fix, explain, or justify. The observer is the seed of the new being, the portal to access the field of possibilities where true freedom resides. Ancient mystics and modern quantum physicists, each in their own way, recognize this process as the beginning of true awakening. The dissolution of the programmed self is the prerequisite for accessing the field, a portal that requires the courage to cross the void, with no guarantees of recognition, no old maps. The identity crisis is not weakness, it is a passage. Only those who accept this unmaking can sustain the frequency of the new. The vacuum demands surrender, trust in the invisible, courage to let yourself be stripped of everything that no longer serves you. And, in this space of not knowing, the observer takes the helm. Now, you are no longer the character, but the one who witnesses the birth of a new consciousness. You begin to feel the quantum vacuum not as absence, but as a cosmic womb, a fertile space where nothing yet exists in form, but everything, absolutely everything, is possible. The discomfort of the void is converted into an invitation to the new, as long as you are able to sustain this inner silence without trying to fill it hastily. It is here, between nothing and everything, that the true power to create resides. When the mind quiets, when the old self dissolves, when answers do not come, the fertile ground is born for the field to manifest a new reality, to silence the mind, to rest in the void, to accept the not knowing. These are the portal. It is not simple, it is not comfortable, but it is the only way to allow the quantum field to manifest. The ego resists, wants to control, fill, give immediate meaning to what is open, but only when you sustain the void without rushing to fill it with old certainties does the new begin to emerge. The field does not respond to the noise of old urgencies, but to the free space left by silence. The void then becomes the invisible matrix where the future is gestated, prepared, and aligned with the frequency of your most authentic being. In the vacuum, everything is potential. It is the supreme paradox. Feeling lost is, in fact, being closer to the creative source than ever before. The bewilderment, the lack of direction, the impression that nothing is under control are, in fact, signs that you are being repositioned in the center of the field. The conventional mind fears the not knowing, but the spirit recognizes there the cradle of creation. It is necessary to trust, not as one who waits, but as one who recognizes that the empty space is the invisible substance of all future possibility. By accepting the void, you place yourself at the 0 point of your inner universe. The collapse of old certainties opens the way for a state where creativity has no limits, where the energy of the field can organize itself into new forms, ideas, relationships, and experiences. Only those who sustain the discomfort of no longer being what they were, but still not knowing what they will be, can collapse new reality. The not knowing reveals itself to be the greatest power, for it removes the mind from command and returns to the field the protagonism of manifestation. Here, between nothing and everything, the vacuum reveals itself as the true beginning. Every sense of loss, every moment of silence, every suspension between the old and the new are in fact the birth pains of a new existence. You are not lost, you are in gestation. In the space of the vacuum, everything that seems like absence is, in fact, the silent presence of the possible. The quantum womb awaits only your total surrender for the new, finally, to be born within you. At the heart of the vacuum, when you sustain the silence and rest between nothing and everything, something extraordinary begins to happen. Consciousness, awakened and present, transforms into the fundamental agent of creation. You realize that you are not just someone inside the universe, but consciousness itself molding the field, collapsing infinite possibilities into living realities. Thoughts cease to be noise and become seeds. Emotions, once chaotic, become instruments for fine-tuning frequency. Intention, once dispersed, becomes the organizing force of the invisible. From this state, small and large synchronicities begin to emerge. Unexpected encounters, answers that arrive before the question, clear signs that confirm that the universe responds, with precision, to the frequency you are emitting. The material world ceases to be a fixed and separate thing, and reveals itself as a constant dance of possibilities, collapsed by your own conscious gaze. Premonitions, certain intuitions, even what could be called miracles, arise, not as exceptions, but as the natural manifestation of a mind and heart aligned with the field. At this moment, you understand that you are not a small thing inside a cold and impersonal universe. You are the field itself, experiencing itself. The feeling of separation dissolved, revealing a silent and profound unity. You realize that every thought, every feeling, every intention is a vibrational pulse capable of reorganizing the quantum field around you. Nothing is trivial. Nothing is accidental. Reality reveals itself as a perfect mirror of consciousness, and you begin to intuit that everything that manifests before you is beforehand the work of the internal state you sustain. The key now is to align intention and presence. It is not enough just to wish or think. It is necessary to be vibrationally coherent with what you seek to manifest. The field responds to your being, not just your wanting. When your presence is whole, when emotion, thought, and intention walk together, external reality collapses in harmony with your internal frequency. And then, everything changes. The impossible gives way to the unexpected. The improbable becomes commonplace. The collapse of reality is not an external event. It is an intimate, devotional, spiritual phenomenon in which you recognize, I am the field, I am the creator, I am the miracle I awaited. Now, before the field, there is nowhere left to hide. The understanding imposes itself with the clarity of a lightning strike. The universe does not respond to superficial desires, empty promises, or repeated laments, but rather to the predominant frequency that you emit at every instant. No matter how much you long, plead, or complain, the field returns with precision what silently vibrates within you. What you find around you is just a reflection of what inside has become a pattern. This is the radical responsibility of awakening, to assume yourself as the source and mirror of everything that manifests, without subterfuge or justification. The myth of the victim of circumstances dissolves in the vacuum. Nothing external, in fact, has the power to determine your reality. Quantum awakening requires that you assume the role of creator, not survivor. The scenarios, the relationships, the cycles of scarcity or abundance, of conflict or peace, everything, absolutely everything, responds to the frequency of your field. This is not a punishment, but an irrevocable invitation for you to choose, moment by moment, what you wish to sustain. It is not enough to change thoughts superficially. It is necessary to dive deep and recalibrate the vibration of your entire being. The daily practice of self-observation proves indispensable. You learn to identify when you slip back into old patterns, fear, anger, resentment, discouragement, and, upon noticing, you can consciously choose to realign your frequency. It is not a matter of perfection or absolute control, but of devotional commitment to your own field. Even amidst chaos, pain, and inevitable challenges, the power to choose which frequency to emit remains. The universe, then, becomes a laboratory and a mirror. Everything that returns is an indication, not of guilt, but of an opportunity for new alignments. True abundance, peace, and fullness do not come from controlling external circumstances, but from establishing fine-tuning with the internal quantum field. When you stabilize the frequency of your being, the entire universe responds, rearranging realities, bringing unexpected solutions, dissolving obstacles, and opening portals of possibility. Nothing is more liberating, and nothing requires more courage than to take radical responsibility for the field you radiate. Now, everything is consciousness. Everything is choice. The field awaits only your coherence, to mirror, without hesitation, the grandeur of the awakened being you are destined to manifest. The time has come to understand that living in the quantum field is not an experience reserved only for brief moments of meditation, introspection, or isolated rituals. The new quantum self, gestated in the vacuum and consolidated by the awakening of the observer, must now be stabilized in routine, in relationships, in work, in daily challenges. It is not a fleeting state, but a new operating system that permeates all aspects of existence. It is in the practice of daily life that the frequency proves authentic, not by what you believe in hours of silence, but by the way you react, choose, and position yourself before the world. The signs of stabilization begin to manifest in a silent and profound way. You notice that reactions slow down. There are no more automatic explosions in the face of external chaos, nor abrupt oscillations at the whim of circumstance. An unusual peace settles in. Even amidst turmoil, clarity arrives effortlessly, without the need to obsessively seek answers. The present imposes itself as a continuous reality, not as an escape from the future or the past, but as a natural state of presence. And in this new way of being, the old I tries, from time to time, to return to command. This return of the old pattern is part of the process. There is no error in feeling old emotions or thoughts arising. What changes is your response. The conscious repetition of aligned choices strengthens, little by little, the new vibrational pattern. Each time you position yourself from the field, each time you refuse the old narrative, the new quantum self takes root with more force. The field recognizes and sustains this alignment, making the process more fluid, less conflictive, more natural. You don't need to fight against the old, just reinforce, with presence and intention, the path you wish to sustain. The impact of this new being is not limited to you. The silent stabilization of your frequency begins to radiate beyond your individual field, influencing people, environments, situations, even without words or explanations. Others notice something different, feel a lighter energy, notice inexplicable changes around you. The quantum field, silent but relentless, begins to rearrange collective realities based on your internal state. Thus, the transformation of the external world is an inevitable consequence of the stabilization of the new self in the field. And at this point, living is to witness, in every gesture, thought, and choice, the living manifestation of a new consciousness on earth. The time has come to recognize the true challenge is not to wake up. It is to remain awake, even when everything around you insists on inviting you back to collective sleep. Staying lucid and present in the field requires daily courage, humility to start over, and devotion to sustain the frequency of the new. The world, with its old voices and old invitations, will seek to reclaim your attention, try to convince you that nothing has changed, but you have already crossed the portal. There is no going back to the old, only the need for firmness in the face of the waves that will come. Now, you are called to affirm yourself as a living part of the field, as a conscious co-creator of your own reality. Declare, in the comments of this video, your new identity. I am the creative vacuum. I am ready to collapse a new reality, or the affirmation that best represents the birth of this new being within you. Every word, every sharing, every expression is an energetic anchor, consolidating your choice to remain awake, present, and available for the manifestation of the new. Share this video, subscribe to the channel, interact, not as a mere formality, but as a ritual of anchoring this frequency in your life and in the lives of others who also feel the call. Your presence, your declaration, and your movement of expansion serve as a bridge for those who are still trying to understand the emptiness, the silence, the hidden meaning of awakening. By positioning yourself publicly, you legitimize the experience of the field, becoming a lighthouse and a testimony that transformation is real and accessible. The field has called you. Now respond as a creator. May your journey be filled with consciousness. May your frequency radiate beyond what the eyes can see, and may the new world begin, inside and around you, from this moment on. The portal is open, the call has been made, and you now are the living response of the field.